Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. As you can see, this time I'm looking at a Dell Workstation 400. I got this several years ago now, probably about 10 years ago actually, second off eBay. It was £18 shipped. God, it weighs a ton. Just £18 shipped. So, you know, the shipping on this, the weight, it must have been 15 quid to ship that easily. Now, it's got a Pioneer DVD writer in here that Beeps sent me ages ago, so I've got that in there. It's Pentium 2, you can see this, but it's a dual Pentium 2. There's two P2 slots filled in here. And I think I've got, from memory serves, I've got half a gig of RAM, 512 meg. So I'm going to use this as my retro gaming PC. In order to get in this, can you see these little things on the sides there? There's two of those, one on each side, and I'll just try and squeeze them in. We should be able to get the lid off. Yeah, it lifts up at the back. You can see that a bit better. Yeah, it lifts up at the back like that. So then you just got to unhinge it at the front, and we're in there. Now, I'm a bit gutted. I don't know if you saw my loft clear out recently. I had a Voodoo 3000. It was that card that had STB on it, and I forget who it was, so I'll put his name up here. Thanks to him, he pointed out, well, it's not really thanks, it is thanks in the sense that he identified what the card was, but I threw it away. So I was absolutely gutted that I threw away a Voodoo 3000. But I did then go away, have a little look in the loft, and found this, which is a Voodoo 2000, I think, or a Voodoo 2, rather. As you can see here, it's the one with shitloads of RAM chips on both sides. So yeah, I can use that, and I think from when if memory serves, when I first got this working, I put a reasonably good graphics card in here. Yeah, you can see that, it's a Matrox. See if I can zoom in a little bit. You can just about see it. Yeah, Matrox. I think it's like a Millenium or something. Yeah, Millenium, I know you can see just down here. So I'll perhaps get that out in a minute and let you have a closer look at that as well. Not sure what that board is there. Did I get the extra RAM or something for it? I think I did. I think that's what this is. It's a RAM module for that graphics card. But you can see the two CPU slots here. Just the end of the P2 slipper sticking out of that one there. It's a nice motherboard, this. It's got, you know, PCI slots, but on the end here it's got some 16-bit. And this is one of the reasons why I went for the P2, to get a reasonably fast spec system. Because you can always clock these things down. I've got one somewhere, a utility that you can use just to slow the CPU down to kind of give you a better, you know, performance that's in line with maybe a 486 or a 386 or a 286, etc. So I'll probably end up using that to slow the odd thing down that doesn't, you know, that runs too quickly. So what else have we got? Well, we've got a 3.5-inch drive here. I had to clean the heads on that recently. It's a Sony one. Might need to inspect the caps on that because it may need recapping as well. The power supply is good on this. I did inspect that a few years back, no issues at all. I've got a couple of hard disks. I think there's one. Yeah, there's one down there. You're not going to be able to see it. You might be able to if I just tilt the case up a little bit. Yeah, so I think we've got like an IBM drive or something in there perhaps. And another one down here. What's that? It's like a Quantum or something. Oh, Maxtor. Yeah, so Maxtor drive. So I've got two hard disks. I think one's 120 gig. The other one's 40, if memory serves. But they're going to be no good for what I want to do, because what I want to do is, I've got a copy of my old DOS disks here, MS-DOS 622. I want this to be, you know, kind of like a retro gaming PC for things like Doom, Indiana Jones, The Fate of Atlantis, Day of the Tentacle, Fantasy Empires, those sorts of things, you know, from the sort of 90s, early 90s PC gaming. I think you could probably get a Pentium 3 that's got ISA slots, I'm not sure. Some of the very early ones might still have had these 16-bit ISA slots here. But it's going to need a clean up, you can see the dust on here. So I think I'm going to start by just stripping it down, giving it a vacuum out, and then I'll get the Voodoo in there. And I've also got a few other things here which I'll show you quickly. This was a stick I had back in the day that I bought cheap from CPC. These are cracking sticks. Now I say this is the stick. It's the stick I had. This is not the exact same one though. I had to order one from eBay. I think mine broke. Threw it away. Unfortunately, I should have tried to fix it, but I just had no patience at the time, so it just went in the bin. But yeah, I like the switches on this, and it's it's analog. I think there's 2 different modes. You can use these little switches underneath here, and it'll stay. It won't just go back. It's like the setting it's on now. It'll self-censor, but you've got the trims there to adjust the alignment. But these are really good sticks, and it's one of the ones with the is it 15 pin? I think it is 15 pin game port type joystick there that goes into the back of the sound card. I've got a network card I found in the loft there, just in case I need a network card. I think there's probably one on board, but it might be 10 meg, so I might just swap that out for 100 meg, disable the onboard one, and then the plan is to disable the onboard sound and fit this, which is Sound Blaster AWE64. So there are lots of different revisions of these, the AWE32s and AWE64s. The AWE64 has got good compatibility, if not 100% compatibility, with the AWE32. Now originally I had a Netwar32 back in the day, and it was one of the very early ones, and it was just a fantastic card. It really was. It was cracking. I ended up giving it away. I wish to God I hadn't. Yeah, I gave it away in about 2002ish. Just took it into the office one day after I found it and gave it to a guy that I worked with there. Said, "Is this any good to you?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll have that." But I wish I'd kept it. But anyway, yeah, so compatibility wise, they should be the same. It's going to sound pretty much the same, really. Although some people complain some of the OPL stuff's not quite as good between some of the different revisions of these cards. We'll see what it's like. I could always maybe invest in a proper AWE32, but I did spend some time looking through the different models, and if you look at the AWE32 and the AWE64, you'll find there's loads of different models, and it's like trying to get the one that's just right, that supports everything you want, and it's got the right OPL chip and all the rest of it. It's quite difficult. So this was quite cheap, and it was one of the better AWE64s from what I could gather from research. So we'll just give it a try and see what happens, So one of the things I like about these Dells, I mean, aside from the fact you've got dual CPUs here, bear in mind you need to have an operating system that will make use of dual CPUs. I think at the moment this has got like NT4 on there, and it works fine. You can use both, But what I think I'm going to do is dual boot. I'll enable dual boot, so I can boot to DOS 622. That's going to limit the hard disk capacity there to something like 2 gig per partition, I think, something along those lines. Might be able to split it up, split up like, I don't know, an 8 gig compact flash card into 4 sections of 2 gig. I don't know, we'll give that a try. And I have ordered a compact flash sort of adapter that will fit into one of these slots here, and it just connects straight to one of these 40 pin IDC connectors. So ultimately I might take the hard disks out of this. I might never use with Windows again, I don't know. I may well, if I can set up 4 2 gig partitions, I might make a 2 gig partition and put Windows NT back on it just for some of the games that run in Windows, things like Quake 2, I guess. I think that was a Windows game, wasn't it? I can't quite remember now. But one of the things I like about these as well is if you just watch this, you just lift this here, and the whole riser card assembly comes out, and you can just get to your cards like this. I mean, not only is it easy now to clean the board and stuff as well, I don't have to be messing around trying to get behind the thing, and I can get to the card, the slots and things here really, really easy. So yeah, it's a really nice touch, that the way they've designed that. So as you can see there, seems to be powering up okay. I'm amazed the battery's not flat on this, actually. It might be the next thing. It might give us a CMOS error, but it's checking the memory there. I've chosen to go into setup because I want to disable the onboard sound card. Yeah, invalidation configuration information. So that's the battery backup. So I'll need to do something with that. So I'm just about to vac this out and change the battery. As you've seen there, the backup battery's flat. One of the other nice things with this, like I say, it's very much reminiscent of the PS2, the IBM PS2 days, where you've got levers and things like this. You can just pull that lever and the whole power supply assembly just lifts over. Just really nice, well designed, well engineered cases and things, these. So you can get access to the RAM here. You can see I've got two 256 meg SIMs in there. I don't know, this DIMMs. I think they were probably DIMMs by the time you got onto this era of machine. They're quite unusual. They've got parity and the EDO, I think. So yeah, they're quite hard to get hold of these days. All the caps look all right down there, you can see. But yeah, that's the key. That's what I wanted down there. easy access to the battery, and thank God it's not soldered on rechargeable like you get in some of the older motherboards. So that should be easy to swap out. But yeah, all I'm going to do, like I say, swap that out and just vac around. So in the CPU cover here, you just bend these little clips like this, and if you do both at the same time, the whole thing just slides off, so I can clean the inside of that. And you can see the two slot CPUs down here, so I'll get some of the dust off the heat sinks. I might take the CPUs out. We've got a missing bracket there, don't you? You can see that, you know, you've got these support pillars, got one missing, so I might try and get one of those just as a it should be in there, you know, for completion. But yeah, I might just remove them anyway just to get better access to the board, and so I can clean that fan out. It looks like that fan probably clips out somehow as well. I'll investigate that further. So you've also got these little clips so that you can see where that top finger is there, that plastic clip. There's a couple of those. I'll try and point to the one that's already still in there. Yeah, there and there. And if you just clip them, and then as long as these things are screwed out here at both sides, the thing just slides up. So we'll clean the slot and stuff now as well, just, you know, clean all around there. Clean up these because they are covered in dust, as you can see. So I've got a brand new Panasonic CR2032 in there now. I've cleaned up a little bit, the fan and stuff, cleaned up the board around here, so I'm going to start reassembling it. There we go, so I've cleaned up the riser card assembly as best as I can. We've got the Matrox Millenium at the front here in the first PCI slot, then the Voodoo 2. What I like about this whole mechanism, you know, the whole assembly and stuff here, is the cards fit totally flat. You know, you notice in some of the cheaper PCs, well, it's the case that's the issue. You don't always get where you've screwed it in here. Sometimes it'll raise out on the back or at the front, and it can be really difficult sometimes lining these up. But with this is so precision engineered. Everything just perfectly lines up there. So should just be able to slide this module in now. Get the lid back on, and hopefully we should be able to boot. So just looking at some of the settings here quickly, you can see I had to change that to auto there to pick up that first hard disk on channel 1 on the primary interface, and the slave on the primary interface is the, I thought it was the CD driver, it's not actually, that's the second hard disk, and on the secondary controller the primary is the CD-ROM drive. Now the interesting thing with this Dell, when you first change the battery over, that default's there to say 233. The only other option is compatible. You can only either, you know, 233 or compatible. It's bizarre. Now, I did previously, I remembered from when I used this before that I had 300 megahertz Celeron's, not Celeron's, 300 megahertz Pentium 2 chips in here. There's two of them, and I thought that's a bit strange. You know, I double checked on the motherboard. There's some jumpers on this Dell, and you can specify the clock speed there, and there's, I think, three options: 233 megahertz, 266, or 300. And it was set to 300. But after going through and changing some of the other settings, saving, booting it, going back into the settings again, it had changed to 300. So I don't know whether there's a bug there that the first time it runs, it only picks up 233 as an option. For some reason, after it's, you know, you have to set some of the other settings and initialise the BIOS there, you know, the actual RAM. That it seems to provide you that option. It's a bit weird, I don't know. So DAC Snoop I've switched off. I don't really know what the implications are of that. If you know more about that, please post in the comments below. Yeah, but I've disabled it. I tried it both ways actually, which I'll get onto in a minute, just to cover some of the issues with certain games. It's not made any difference to anything really. It's almost invisible in terms of its effect. So you'll see here that I disabled the onboard sound. I've got the network card enabled at the moment, but at various points I've had that on and off, just to test again compatibility, because I wasn't sure whether I had a problem with the sound card, which I'll show you in a minute. Actually, we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. The mouse is enabled. It's obviously got PS2, PS/2 type mouse connector, which I'm using at the moment. I could always disable that and then enable one of these two serial ports here again, and then use my old Microsoft serial mouse with that. But just for the moment, I've got the two serial ports and the parallel port switched off. The ID hard disk interface is enabled, obviously. The floppy disk is enabled. USB's off. Now, an interesting thing with this is these Dell 400s, and the same sort of, if you look at some of the other models within the same family range, you know, you've seen what the case looks like. There's lots of Dell machines that look very similar, and they use the same motherboard with the same BIOS, I think. I don't know when it was dated. I can't see a date stamp on there anyway. But anyway, those same models, if there's a bug, I think, with Windows 2000, if you enable USB and you've had some sort of like a removable volume connected to it or something, when you try and boot 2000 up again, it hangs on the boot, and you've got to disable the USB port. It's really weird. I do remember having that because the office I worked in several years ago, we had these Dell machines. In fact, it was more than several years ago. It was about 1999, 2000ish. Had these exact Dell machines, not the same spec in terms of the processor and stuff and memory, but it was the same, pretty much the same family. They looked the same, looked identical from the front, and I think they had the same BIOS and stuff, same chipset potentially, or the same family of chipset, and it was that same issue. I think we had the problem actually on Windows NT4. There were a few machines I ended up having to go and fix around the office where people were like, "Oh my god, my machine's not booting anymore, can't get in," and it was the USB. As soon as you disabled the USB, suddenly you could get back in again. Really weird. But anyway, so that's all the BIOS settings. So if we just do Alt B to boot, sorry, my cat's having an absolute maddie at the moment, it's running around like a lunatic. Now here's the first issue I've got here. There we go. She's just letting us know she's there. And that's this monitor. It's one of these, it automatically syncs, and it's crap. It really is. It's because it's of a newer generation where it's not expecting these old resolutions and refresh rates. So I've got to keep hitting this auto set button. So I'll skip the memory test there. Now you'll notice now that when this boots, it's going to boot off floppy. And this is just something I've accepted for the moment as a workaround, because I've set Windows 2000 up to dual boot, but you need like a specific file. I think you need I forget what it's called now, something like ms-dos.bin or dots. I can't remember the name of the extension. You need the bootloader as a flat file sat on a drive somewhere, and I couldn't find any way of getting it off there. Now you'll notice quickly there, it's probably just gone past, we've got a boot menu here that I've created, which I'll show you in a minute how I've done that and why I've done that. So as we wait for that to load up now, you can see I've made significant progress there. I've got all the drivers and things loaded, etc, etc. So now that my compact flash adapter has arrived, I'm going to fit this inside there. As you can see, it's one of these that fits in one of the slots, and externally you can remove the compact flash card, which is really nice, and they're only £2 or £3 each, these. Yeah, the soldering's not that great on there. I guess I could always reflow that if there's a problem with it, but there's no active components here. It's all passive, it's just connectivity, and you've got a jump here to toggle between master and slave. So it should be straightforward. I'm going to disconnect the primary hard disk, which is on channel the IDE channel 1. That's the Windows 2000 drive I've got on here, just to connect this up so that I can have this the compact flash card on the primary channel, and on the secondary channel I'll have the 4 gig hard disk that I've been messing around with. It's just split into 2 partitions, and the idea is I don't know whether I'll be able to, but I figure I might be able to split this into 4 partitions. We'll see what happens. I'd be interested to see, does F-disk actually pick it up or not. So I've got both disks connected, the 4 gig with the 2 DOS partitions on it, and the new compact flash with as the 8 gig. That's the primary. So if we just do display partition information, yeah, that's showing fixed disk 1 as 8 gig. That's the one I've just installed compact flash. And if we can change the current fixed disk to disk 2, you can see there. Change that to disk 2 and then list partitions. You can see there's the 2 partitions that we've got working. So let's go back out, change the fixed disk back to disk 1, list just to make sure, yeah, and then we'll do, so let's delete non-DOS partition number 4, yes, so partitions deleted. If we now display, there should be no partitions, that's correct. We'll create a DOS partition, create a primary partition. Hope this works, hope it gives us an option. Yeah, make partition active, yes. Created, okay. Let's display. So we've got a primary 1 and 2 gig. Let's create now an extended partition, create a partition. And let's just go with what it's allowing me to do, which is 5640 megabytes. I'm amazed if that works with DOS, but it seems to want to allow me to do that. So let's now create a logical partition 3. Yes, maybe we just need to do multiple logical partitions. Yes, you do, that's how it works. That's really strange. That's not what I expected at all. I'm not that hot on this stuff though. It's been a long time since I've done any of this tinkering like this with discs. So set the active partition, that's already active, that's fine. I think that's it. So if we come out, we've got our floppy in. We'll boot from the floppy, and then I'll see what drive letters have been assigned to those, and we'll format them, and I'll copy everything across. So we'll look at C. Yeah, that one's now C, so we'll D, E, F, G, H. Yeah, it's really weird that. It's like F and H, I think, on my old hard drive, so I'm just going to take a bit of tinkering this to get my head round. Let's just double check that. So C, yeah, that needs formatting, so let's do format. Let's just do a path, hang on, let's just do a path. E, is that the one with DOS? No, it's not. F, G, H, it's not that one, must be D, yeah, so we'll do path equals D DOS, format C:/S to put the system on it. So hopefully you're following this. It's like I say, the old existing 4 gig drive, which was split into 2 partitions, which was C and D, have ended up shifting because this is now the primary drive. So when DOS is booted up, it's seeing this, you know, some of the primary partition on this first as C, and then D becomes this, which was previously C on the other disk, if that makes sense. And I think the other one was like H or something. So yeah, that's going to format C. I hate things like this because you've just got to trust that it knows exactly which drive it is actually pointing to. Wow, that was quick. That just goes to show you how much quicker compact flash cards are. Normally that would take several minutes at least. So we'll call that disk 1, volume 1. So let's just check now. So E is a one that needs formatting, so let's abort, and we'll do go back to C, format E:. I'm not going to put the system on this one because it doesn't need it. Wow, that's lightning fast. Disk 1, volume 2. Disk 1, volume 3. Yes. That's the last one I recognise because it's got the leftovers there from the 8 gig. Disk 1, volume 4. And then H should be my other drive, that's correct. So I think what we'll do now is I'm going to copy everything across using an X copy. So the easiest way to do that, I've got path set to my DOS directory anyway. So if I want to put D onto C effectively. So if I just do X copy start to D to C:/S, that will copy everything, including the folder structures, onto the C drive. What is the new C drive now from the old C drive? I'll leave that going for a few minutes. Do the same thing with the G to wherever the other drive was. I can't believe it would be CD. B, I think, the E drive, which would be the D drive once I reboot without the 4 gig disk in. I hope you're following me. It's not easy for me to follow, to be fair. So as soon as all that's finished, I won't bore you with the copy and stuff. As soon as that's finished, I'll disconnect the 4 gig drive, so there should be no physical hard disks connected at all in the IDE chain in this machine, and I'll just boot it with compact flash as primary drive 1, and we'll see what happens. So everything's copied across. I've got it, the compact flash in the back there. You might just be able to see a bit of it down here where the power connector goes in. So I've had to use one of those extenders, a power splitter, a power extender, and then into one of the ones that feeds the smaller ISO connector for 3.5-inch drives, a bit like that one there. So if I've disabled the first hard disk, which is now the Windows 2000 hard disk, in the BIOS, and I'll show you. It will boot hopefully straight off the compact flash card when it gets there. There you go. That's straight off the compact flash card. So that's working fine. That's the easiest way for the moment, unless someone can recommend an easy way of putting a boot manager on my Windows 2000 partition. But if I enable the first hard disk again, it will boot to Windows 2000, no problem off the first disk. If I just disable that first hard disk, it boots from the second, the second drive without an issue. Maybe it's just this BIOS I've got, I don't know. So it's quite a quick, easy way for me to toggle between, sorry, it's not displaying right, toggle between my Windows 2000 drive and this DOS 62 drive. At some point I'll probably get Windows 95 or 98 on here or something. So one of the other nice benefits of having a compact flash card on the back here, I could just put another 8 gig card in, take the other one out, plug this one in, and format this and stick Windows 98 on there. Now I realise I could do a dual boot on the other compact flash card, but actually I prefer to just keep the disk space I've got there just for DOS games. Another totally separate card here. And the other benefit with this is you can take these cards out. In fact, I've just done that with this DOS one that's in there now. Stuck it in my compact flash reader on my PC, used some image software and actually created an image of the whole 8 gig drive there. You can read the first partition as well, just it mounts it as a drive there, I think M drive in my case, and you can copy files onto the first partition quite easily. So it's a nice easy way of transferring data between systems, if you've not got like a network card in the machine, or in my case I've got a network card in it but I've not got a cable permanently wired just because the position it is in the room. I have to sort of trailer an RJ45 lead right across the room in order to connect it up to the network. So yeah, you plug in and unplugging a compact flash card and sticking that to my main PC is a really easy way of being able to get files across. So I'll stick this in here now. I'm going to get 98 on there. As you can see, I'm just setting up Windows 98 here now. It's creating a startup disk. I've had some interesting problems with this actually. The first thing is you need DOS on there with your CD-ROM driver in order to be able to then boot your system up, stick your CD in and run setup. The other problem is after I got DOS on there, it wasn't booting. I had to do fdisk /mbr and also format the other unused, allocate the unused space on the disk, create like logical drives, format them all, and then it was okay. It would boot into DOS no problems. In order to get the CD-ROM driver across, the easiest thing to do was to put my compact flash card into my main PC, copy across the CD-ROM folder and any of the other drivers like sound drivers, etc., and then just swap them over that way onto the this new compact flash card here. And then I came to boot Windows 98 setup up. It does this start disk thing you can see here where it creates a boot disk just in case you have a problem. And I didn't have a spare HD disk to hand, so I nabbed the one that I had in my Amiga 1200 drive that I'd just been using to stop the thing seeking. It does like a seek noise every few seconds on the Amiga unless you've got a disk in there. So I just bunged that disk in there, so I thought okay, I'll use that disk. But because it had been formatted to 880k, it was just freezing. The computer was doing nothing. It said it was starting to write to the disk, but the drive was not lit. The LED on the floppy drive was doing nothing. The system was doing nothing. So I had to boot back to DOS, format the disk as a 1.44 disk, and then go through the whole cycle again really. So hopefully it shouldn't take too long. Once it gets past this boot disk bit, it should start installing Windows properly. So I'll show you the end result here now. Now this monitor, it doesn't sync properly. As you can see, you get like this band here. You can adjust it so it's 100% and it fits perfectly, and you can also press the auto reset, and if you're patient with it, most of the time, as you can see there, it syncs properly. It's a pain in the butt. I really need an old 4.3 monitor that will accept the right frequencies and things, but I'll just show you some of the games that I've been playing on here. System Shock, I've been playing this quite extensively the last few evenings. I've got to the second floor. It's just fantastic. I had rose tinted glasses for this game anyway, but it is just superb. It really is. It's one of the best games on DOS. I'm not sure I've got no sound here. Let's just see if I can turn the volume up a bit. Yeah, you can see what I mean about the sync there. Let's just try and sync that. It may or may not sync. Let's see. No, he's playing up again. Yeah, it is a bit of a pain. Just occasionally I might get the odd game where I've got to go into here and just adjust the horizontal all the way up to 100%. Like that. Oh. Pain in the arse, but yeah, I can manage with it for the time being. Let's just let's just do a new game. This sounds fantastic on an AWE32 or an AWE64. To be fair, I'm actually very impressed with the AWE64. I'd heard lots of things suggesting that the AWE32 was a better card. I'm not convinced, to be honest. The music's superb, it really is. As you can see, a very comprehensive control system on this game. There's absolutely tons of different controls. For that reason, it could put a lot of people off. If you skip past that, I forgot how you do it now. You'll see, you can move this little indicator up the top here. You might be able to see. You can move between 3 predefined views. Whether you want to look up, down, or straight ahead. But you can also use the thing on the right there to sort of give you a free look. I think there's been a mod to this, so you can do a mouse free look. But I'm actually quite used to it. And then you use the actual cursor, and holding the mouse button down to actually move around and turn and stuff, and twist. It's like mega complicated to get used to start with, but once you get used to it, it's damn good. It really is. You can even change the height of your character. You can crouch, or you can sort of crawling around. If you go through vents and things. Superb game. And as you get further on, in fact, I'll just show you. I'll just load a save. I know the focus is not on this particular game, but this is one of the reasons why I wanted to set a retro PC up again, because this game is just phenomenal. There are several others that are very similar. That just won't work on. You can load them in DOSBox, but you need one of these old PCs really to get the best out of it. Listen to the guitar riffs there, superb. So as you see, if I click on this sensor round thing here, you get like a rear view, so you can see who's sneaking up behind you. And there are various other plug-in modules you get as you go along. Like we've got power shield there, that's quite cool. And there's, like I say, various others. Some cool weapons. As you can see, I've got a mag pulse here at the moment. You get a dart gun. There's all sorts of stuff. I think when you're getting further into it, you get like machine guns and super machine guns and all sorts. It's a phenomenal game. Highly recommended. So as you can hear, the sound's brilliant on the AWE64, it really is. There are a few other things I want to just mention briefly, just with relationship to the AWE64. There are some drivers on the Creative Labs website, real mode drivers for, I think it's Miles sound system. So if you've got certain games, I think Syndicate is a good example, and Fantasy Empires, you can swap out DLLs and copy, there's instructions there how to do it. You swap some of the files around and things. You basically replace the MP401 driver, I think, can't spell fancy, with the drivers from their website, and you get AWE32 support. This game is one where I've done it. Normally this would just be ad lib. Yeah, so I think you can send heroes on quests. How's that work? That's how you move them. Oh, is that the pack quest one? Yeah, so we've got a few special high-level characters there, but you have armies as well, like groups of different types of categories of soldiers and things. You can have like 100 elves, 100 warriors, 100 mages, etc. But you've also got individual heroes, I think we call them, and I've just sent my 5 heroes out on a quest. It's turn-based. The idea is to take the various pieces of the land over here, and obviously you can have multiple enemies as well. I think in the game I'm playing here, you've only got one of each. Just end the turn. I'll end the turn again. Hopefully those heroes, some of them should come back from the quest. Yeah, level 2 alpha's returned with a bow +1. Level 2 dwarf has returned and tended. Well, they've all came back by the looks of things. But the idea is, like say, you shift all your people like this from one place to another. Well, not all of them, as many as you want, and you can produce more. It's a bit like Command and Conquer in that sense. If we end that now, hopefully they'll sail across the next point. The enemies use magic against me. It's really nice graphical and sort of audio effects and stuff in this game, as well as the music. Superb, really. Another game, highly recommended. Anyway, let's come out of that. I'll just quickly show you one more. So the other thing worth pointing out quickly here is that smart drive is worth using in certain circumstances, but it eats about 60k, so at the moment I've just got that commented out. And if you do use it, put the /X switch on there first to disable right behind caching. So, yeah, so that it doesn't start trying to cache writes and things, because if you know, from experience, when I've used that in the past and you've not disabled the write behind cache, it corrupts your disk if you're not careful. So I've also had to do a fair bit of jiggery pokery really with the autoexec config.sys. You'll see if you do mem/c/p, it shows you, you know, in a tabular form there, the amount of, you know, utilization of base memory, where drivers and things are loaded. And you can see in the right hand column it shows you whether it's loaded into upper memory. You know, the ones at the top aren't. These ones down here start to use the upper memory, and you specify, you know, load high in the autoexec or the config.sys before the name of the executable or the driver in order to load it into that upper memory area. And how much of the conventionals use. And you know, this conventional memory is a pain in the backside. It always was. Remember, you've only got 640k, so you've got to be very picky and choosy about what you load and where you load it. And it's to a degree, you've got to play a bit of Tetris, memory Tetris, and you've got to start sort of looking at the size of these blocks. Keep using, you know, once you boot up, use this mem/c/p, and have a look at the size of various things that are loaded into the various, you know, blocks of memory here. And let's say play Tetris to a degree, and you know, in my instance, many times now, I've had to come in here, I found that something's in upper memory of a certain size, but we've got a certain amount free. Can you see we've got like 23k free of upper memory here? So then I've had to sort of revisit my autoexec config.sys and comment out, or not really comment out, but change the order so that something that was previously loaded into upper memory is now no longer loaded into upper memory, which increases the upper memory even larger, maybe to let's say 47k, in order that I can load something else that's maybe 35k or so to make more use of the upper memory, if that makes sense. You know, it's like ramparts or Tetris. You've got to, it's like you know, trying to fit certain pieces of certain sizes into the certain spaces there. So there's a bit of trial and error there. And the other thing, I've set up a boot menu on here. I'll just show you how that works. And config.sys, you've got this menu. You might just be able to see it. Might be obviously on camera. Up here at the top, scroll down. This first block here. So you've got your menu label or whatever it is at the top there that just identifies your set of menu. Your menu items, you know, all you do is give it an ID that you just specify. It's like, I think that refers to like a label effectively, and then the text that comes up when it boots. So you can see I've got a few different options there. I've got my default option for most games, and then I've got another option which eats 32 meg. And the way I've done that is just to use smart drive and set the buffer a ridiculous amount. You know, to say the smart drive uses 32 meg. And that works actually. Certain games that won't work without, you know, where you've got more than 64 meg, because that's this problem. Because like Aladdin, for example, will not work with any machine that's got more than 64 meg of RAM, unless you can eat 32 meg of it somehow. And that's how I've done it here. Let's set up a massive smart drive cache of 32 meg. And as you can see, I've disabled the mouse because I don't need it. And I can always load the mouse manually. It's just to free a bit of base memory up for that particular game. I've also got another option there for no XMS. You know, it doesn't use the EMM386 driver or whatever it is. Some games like Comanche and a few others will squawk if you've already got an XMS driver loaded. And option 3 there is the same as the first default, but I've got the general MIDI emulation with the Sound Blaster, just for some of those games that will run that way. There are very few. I don't think I found one. Day of the Tentacle crashes actually when you do it that way. Works for a period of time and then it reboots. So a bit flaky that general MIDI emulation on the AWE64. And then you just, let's say you have a label. The label first, and all your device, your config.sys, your device drivers and things, and you can just replicate that for the number of menu options you've got. But the best way to do it is, rather than jump in and start trying to give yourself multiple menu options right from the start, is just set up a standard option, don't have a menu, get as many games as you can working that way, and then start to clone it and edit each one by one, and just to test the games until you've got pretty much all options covered. Because the danger is if you start having multiple menu options in here, as I did for the first time when I first set this up earlier, in the week, you can be going backwards and forwards and changing them all. You make a change to this one at the top here, and then you could start thinking, actually, that second option, it needs changing in. Oh, and in the third one, and in the fourth one. Before you know it, you break some of the other ones because you've not tested them all. So, yeah, a lot of trial and error, but just start with the default one, get as many games working as you can with the standard boot configuration, and then start to... didn't have the bar. Then start to split it out to give yourself options for some of those unusual games that need either more base memory or specific amounts of XMS, etc. So the auto-exec, you can see right at the top you've got some common stuff. I'll just try and highlight it. Yeah, that's the common stuff, and then you've got the go-to config, and that just goes to, you have a label there that matches the menu options you specified in the config.sys. So it's all pretty standard stuff, really. One of the things I will point out with the AWE64 versus the AWE32. With the AWE32, I don't remember having to use the CTCM, and there were one or two of the other device drivers in the config.sys that I didn't ever have to use. You could pretty much just set your blaster variables up top here, sound and blaster, those two, and you could more or less just run, I think, diagnose and all util, and that was it. That's all you needed. So the memory footprint is a bit larger in terms of base memory, although you can load most of them into upper memory on an AWE64. The other thing I had to do, because I'm not using speakers for the most part, I'm just using headphones, is specify a few switches there to, I think the second one in particular, to change the master volume, set the bass, set the treble. Yeah, you may or may not need to do these sort of things. And then the others, like I say, just pretty much clones of those with just the occasional thing commented out or modified. So just quickly here, I thought I'd show you Bioshock. This is another game I've got a lot of fond memories of. If you like survival horror type games and exploration, adventure games, point and click as well, this is the sort of game you probably like. It's a sci-fi based game. I'm not going to spoil it by telling you much about the story. As you can see, you start in this medical centre here, like as a prisoner, and clearly you've been operated on. You've got all these biomechanical sort of attachments and appendages and all the rest of it. A superb game, highly recommended. Anyway, I'll come out of this now and I'll just quickly have a look at one more. So again, got fond memories of this game, Strike Commander CD. I mean, they look a bit blocky by today's standards, they really do, these games. They've not, oh god, it's not syncing again. They've not translated that well to higher resolution displays and things. But this, if you like X-Wing and things like that, Wing Commander, this is a phenomenal game. Good cutscenes, some good speech and stuff, because it's got that full speech pack and stuff built in. The story's quite good, and the gameplay's really good.
Lock on Bandit 1, Fox 2 Mike, missile away.
Of course, I couldn't help but show everyone's favourite game, I guess, Doom. This is the ultimate version, I think. I've also got Doom 2 and Heretic, Hexen, Heretic 2, Duke Nukem 3D, Variant Plutonium Pack. Oh, in fact, it's Atomic Edition I've got. And Dark Forces. There's so many good games, there really are. I've probably got about 70 or 80 classic games, even Fatal Race, and I got that on here again last night. Wipeouts as well, there's a version of Wipeout for DOS, and Destruction Derby, actually. They were early PlayStation games, both of those. But yeah, anyway, I thought you'd find that interesting. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon.